So again, I want to set the scene first. So Solgari itself, we are, like Ed said, we're an all communication channels platform that's fully native and deeply integrated into Dynamics 365 CE. Now, with that being said, we don't actually implement our solution or we don't install it. We actually configure it inside of the channel integration framework, version 1.0 and 2.0. So what I mean by that is if I just open this little bar here, you might have seen it on the video that we just played a second ago, but this is where the user interface is for the agent, the agent inside in the call center, wherever you might be, or in that manufacturing business. And they have the ability to go between Sales Hub, Customer Service Hub, field sales, whatever you in that CE modules. This works out of the box for version 1.0 with the channel integration framework for all of them. Okay, then the benefit of that really is that, and trust me, I'll get to the automation point in a second, but the benefit of this is really that if the agents are going to be making outbound calls, receiving inbound calls, making order inquiries, so getting you stock supplies in, things like that, then they need to be able to handle that, but not be stuck in one module. So this is Sales Hub, as you can see on my sandbox environment here. But if I was also dealing with the marketing team, I could switch off to the marketing DC365 and the UI would be exactly the same. Now, we've talked about the automation and the old channel communications piece of things. Now, this doesn't look like a phone right now, but funnily enough, Solgari uses WebRTC technology, which basically means you don't need a physical desk phone anymore on your desk, and you don't need a soft phone in your computer installed locally. You just need a browser. We use Dynamics 365 single sign-on. So when an agent like banks or the users, the licensed user logs in, then he will see immediately this here because it's been configured at the environment level on the channel integration framework. And just remember, again, it's not a configuration you guys, an implementation anyone has to do. We're not installing managed packages into your environment or plugins that could potentially hinder the CRM or slow it down in any way on its performance as well, or find it really hard to remove. So with Solgari, it's a case of it sits in this very small little window here, and it does a lot of different things. So again, just before I go into the use case I was just talking about on the slide there, I'll just switch over here. We talked about Dynamics 365 CE, but if I go over to omnichannel for customer service, you've also got the same UI in here. And if you use customer service workspace, same thing, it's in there. And we're working actually at the moment with Microsoft on the multi-session piece, which is where you can basically have your multi-sessions open in omnichannel to handle maybe 2 WhatsApps, 1 Facebook, maybe an SMS, and then a phone call. Now, I wouldn't want to be that agent. That's a lot of activity for an agent. But the whole point here is that you've got a big call center of people in there that should be able to handle more than one inquiry at one time. Okay, with parameters around it that you can configure and control as well. So again, this just to give you a picture where we're living inside of Dynamics 365 and also omnichannel for customer service. Now, if I pop back over here, the use case was I was talking about earlier is about an inbound call coming in first. So a customer calling in to that manufacturing company. In this instance, we're just going to call it a car shop basically. So it's just like standard warehouse where you've got a lot of repairs and mainly engines and things like that you want to reorder, and we can then ship them out to the warehouses or the distributing companies as well. So while I'm in here, if I just go first things first, actually I'll do an inbound call, and you might have seen it on that demo that Ed showed briefly a minute ago. But when an inbound call comes in, we'll match the number against the phone number. So if it's a perfect match, we'll pop that record immediately. And it's not a screen pop. We don't do screen popping. We basically open the full real estate of the actual CRM record for you. So and Solgari's just there as a communications piece. You can minimize that down, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So bear with me. I'll just call into the IVR. If just for anyone here, not to be patronizing, an IVR is an interactive voice response system. So press 1 for sales, press 2 for accounts. I'm sure everyone knows that, just to be clear. I'm just going to dial inbound here. I don't know if you'll hear this, but I'll turn the volume up. Now, I know the extension number of the agent, so I can dial by extension. But I'll just answer that first and put myself on mute. And the reason I was, like I said, the reason I was wanting to talk about this is the inbound calls come in, you see, straight away. I'll dial by extension, but we can also route the agent, sorry, the customer through to different queues. So it really, and it doesn't matter on the medium as well, the communication medium. So if it was WhatsApp communication and you had 5 agents, for example, sitting there waiting to receive all your WhatsApp communications from your WhatsApp business account, they would be there in able to receive that, retrieve that basically. Same with web chat, live web chats we can do as well. So that'd be the same kind of thing. But if it does come through one of those queues, we will display that queue name to the agent as well. So we don't do a whisper. That's quite old school in the contact center world, where you whisper to the agents to tell them where the call's coming from. But what we do is we'll show here the actual queue they're called into. It just means that intelligent conversation that the agent's having on the inbound call, they can have quite nicely. Okay. Now, this is the use case. So James has called in. He's actually calling in because he needs a new engine to be sent to his warehouse. He's got a couple of cars that he needs to get like pull the old engines out and put new ones in. So in that regard, I know that James has just called in. I've got a perfect match against his number. I'm in his record right now. And the thing on the right hand side you see with Solgari is it's turned into the phone. So what you kind of expect from a standard handset. So normal handsets, you would have things like mute, unmute. You'd have the ability to put someone on hold, on hold. You maybe want to use video, that we can do that as well if you want to use video with our solution. You've got the blind transfer option where you can put just an extension in, hang up, and it gets passed across to, for example, your colleague. And then finally, you've also got the attended transfer and consult. Attended transfer is this where, for example, I'm speaking to Ed. Ed calls me inbound. I'm speaking to Ed, and I put Ed on hold, and then I call my colleague while Ed's on hold. I speak to my colleague and say, announce him the customer properly. Say, can I pass him through to you? And Ed might go, yeah, not a problem, and I just hang up. So it's just giving you a chance to inform your colleague before the call's transferred over. But we can also do a 3-way consult. So Ed might want to do a professional handle with me and the customer all together in one call before I drop off. So you can also do a consult into that as well. So just give you a picture, guys, of what's going on here while I'm going along with the use case, so you can see all the little bells and whistles alongside it as well. But James has called in, and really what the use case is about is he wants to do a new order. So as a customer service agent or a sales agent, for example, in the sales hub, I've received an inbound call from a customer who wants to buy a new engine. Awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the order status orders area here. There's maybe some previous orders we got from some previous engines, and I'm just going to click the new icon here, like so. And this is just a standard, obviously, new order form, and it doesn't matter really. You can customize this how you like, as you know, in the inside of forms and views. But the main thing down here that we require is just to have a number with inside the order, and you could do this in multiple ways. In the demo, this one, I'm actually going to do this order here. So 44749. But just imagine you wanted to just do a lookup against a contact card or a phone call ID somewhere else that sits somewhere that could be pulled into the new order. It doesn't have to be stuck like this. This is just for the example of the demo because we spun this up very, very fast today. But once that number is in there, that just means that once we've completed this new order, what do we want to achieve next? As soon as I've completed this order and taken all the information I need for it, then I want to be able to hang up with the customer and make sure they're happy. But then I want to be able to tell the customer what their order ID was, when their order is going to be placed, who is it from, and all of that to be done via a very quick trigger, which is the actual clicking save and close or save button here as soon as you create the order. So let's put some details in here. So let's say it's new car engine 1, perfect. Price list, let's set the new engine list. We've got that, awesome. Scroll down here. Now I've already put the number in here, like I said there, but for anyone watching that does the configuration pieces in Dynamics 365, you wouldn't have to do that. You just literally look at a contact, pull up contact, telephone 1, telephone 2, or something like that, and add that into the selection. Which you can do. You can also, that by the way, everyone who's on the call, if you want to associate this against a specific potential customer, that's another way of doing it. James Page, that's my guy. So this order is becoming James now, and I know what it is. Is there an opportunity? Yes, there is, and it's a Ford motor. Cool. So I've got all the information I need. This is the kind of standard Dynamics piece where you're getting inquiring all that detail and data input. From that, I can then, I've still got the customer on the line, but then what I can do is save and close. And what that'll do is then initiate a text message out. So I've got all the information I need. Let's click save. It'll tell me if I've missed a mandatory field. I haven't. Good. So that's all gone out, and it might take a couple of seconds with regards to this coming through. But if I just share my screen for a second, everyone, bear with me. I'm just going to connect here. So just so you can see this come through. It's going to take a little bit longer to get the text message through because we're actually going back by the sandbox via the back of Azure. So it's going to take a little bit longer to deliver. But once you see it, you'll understand what I'm meaning here. And it's pretty rapid when it's on a production environment. Very rapid, sorry. 2 seconds, everyone. I just want to know if there's any questions while I'm in this use case at the moment. Any questions at all while I carry on? No? Okay, fantastic. Right, I'm going to bring this mobile phone over here. This is my screen. And this part really is just to understand. So I'm gonna leave the screen open there. Let's just actually check. Oh no, it's come through. It has actually come through. So I've had the SMS come through. There's two things we can do with the SMS on the screen. So you can see this number, or 7797. That number itself can be used. We can actually show the company number instead. So if you want to show, for example, if Ed wanted an automatic text to go out to remind one of his customers about something, he wanted to say Solgari. But if you want a response reply scenario, which is conversational SMS, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about purely automated SMS from an AI, our Solgari Automate, passing across via a trigger to then send a text out to a customer to remind them of something like their order number, it was confirmed, the day of time, that kind of stuff as well. All right. So it's just good to show you that, and then what the piece that we haven't got here, but it's very easy for us to do, is we can embed that information back into the timeline of that actual record. So for example, if I've got James Page, we automatically already log the inbound and outbound calls for any customer. Okay. If you have a chat, whether it's an SMS or a live WhatsApp or a live chat from the website, you can manually push those in via our Dynamics button. So we've got a little Dynamics window here, commit conversation to call note. So you can also do that if you need to. But in general, like I said, we can actually, anytime there's an automated message going out to a customer, whether it's to one customer or 1,000 customers at once, we'll update the CRM accordingly with that activity, and it'll stamp it into it. It could be in the timeline, or it might be stamped somewhere else. So when you saw the Arctic Glacier demo we did earlier, where you got the reordering of ice, there's ways we can customize and work with you and your customers to make sure that they understand, where do they want to build the automation in? Do they want a button to select, like a save button, just to send the message off? There's loads of different things we can do with this. So we're showing you today one very basic example of what we can do, and Ed will attest to that as well.